And we're
Hello.
live.
I'm tweeting out our show as we're doing our intro. And I put alive with Tim. I meant to put live, but I'm alive too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel like I'm alive. This is my first ever show doing it on a Wi-Fi hotspot. Such is the crappiness of Virgin Media broadband.
Virgin Media, that's who you have. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were really good, but since the lockdown, they've just been terrible. It's just been down and down and like. The funny thing is, it's usually all right in the evenings. I think it was like a contention thing because they've just got, apparently, I think they basically signed up too many customers and it's screwed up their network.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of kind of along the same lines, Zoom had the same problem when schools went back. And suddenly they weren't able to hold all their customers, if that's what you call it. But really cool thing is they kind of put out a really neat apology, taking full responsibility and explaining why. And I thought it was a neat apology just to use as a really good example of a customer or a brand apologizing. Yeah, great customer service. And even for the rest of us, when we find ourselves in a situation that we need to apologize and own.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's not people go on about apologies, but the main thing is to keep people informed.
Exactly. And
yeah. I mean, if you see me haranguing Virgin Media on Twitter occasionally, it's because they suffer from the problem of so many big organisations in that the people in the customer service department do not know what the engineers are doing locally here.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a web chat with somebody yesterday and asking, well, we've been having on and off problems since April, and actually the last 3 weeks have been really good, and I've just kind of forgotten all the problems we had with them. And he was like, oh, we had lots of issues with things getting overheated because of the hot weather, and we're going to be we're making the change of painting all the junction boxes grey to make them less heat thing, which is the most like flop off excuse I've heard.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I've had to call my cable company a few times as well, and every single customer service rep that I get, it's something completely different as to why my internet is bad, and to this day I don't have an answer, but it's horrific, which is why I'm here in my parents' house it's much better here for whatever reason. I don't know.
Well,
so
I mean, the thing is, like, I would like to stay with Virgin Media. The reason is that in the UK, there are 2 ways of getting internet, basically. Well, there are 3 or 4, but like where I am, which is kind of out of London, but not like central London or anywhere, is you've got the telephone line and then you've got cable. And the only cable company in the UK is Virgin Media. It used to be 2, Telewest and NTL, but they basically... They were both taken over by Virgin. So there's only one cable service in the UK. There's nobody else. And their broadband by default, because they use cable, is quicker than what you can get on the telephone line. There's lots of competition of people. They allowed lots of people to run telephone services through BT. So I can get telephone line broadband. But the problem with that is because I'm a long way from the telephone exchange, you've always got issues with now, and they've changed it recently to have better infrastructure. But even so, I moved to Virgin because they had better internet coverage.
Yeah.
So we've got Tim Son watching.
Hi, Tim. The Duncan Daddy Daycare. That must mean you're home with the kids, Tim.
I'm amazed at how well this just like iPhone tethering is working. Though I do wonder, I think my bill is going to go like, I have a certain amount of limit per month, and it's probably going to be, I'll probably start getting text messages during saying you've gone over your limit for the month.
I keep getting those. That's happening. We're on the same page, Tim. I keep getting those. You've gone. Now we have to charge you $10 extra because you've gone over.
Yeah, well, I haven't had one for a while, actually, which is surprising given our terrible... I think they've upped the limit, though. I think they put me on a higher plan or something. So
I think Mike, oh my gosh, dear cable companies, what are you doing? We're having the same problem. We're two different countries. So I was told I had unlimited, and then suddenly I'm getting $10 extra forever every whatever I go over. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, but that's the mobile. The cable is nominally unlimited, though. They just
Okay.
But anyway, we varied from my new show format design. So I suppose we should go to this. What are you up to
this week? And also, Tim Sohn had a really cool show. I think I actually made it live. He had a YouTube. Was it YouTube? No, it was YouTube, right, Tim? Tim Sohn, answer me because I can't remember now. But I saw it live and it was good. And he was saying why we should not have a podcast. Totally mixed that up.
Oh yeah. No, well, I think there's a lot to be said for people not having podcasts, to be honest.
Yeah, why we should not have a podcast. But he brought up a good point. If you have a live show, possibly turn it into a podcast if you want. Anyways, it was a good show, the part that I caught. So there's a plug for Tim. But what are we up to this week?
Describe the little thing in the corner. Well, that way, or whatever, or like above Christelle's head, or at least on my view of it, is a QR code. Now, if you have a phone, one of those phone devices, which unfortunately mine is what I'm using for Wi-Fi for this. But if you go to the photo app of your phone, so I'm saying this in the hope that Christelle will do it to demonstrate.
Well, okay, I will.
You're charging your phone.
I'm not charging it. What do I turn on my camera?
Yeah. No, you put in your camera thing and you just hold your camera up and have that code on the. You don't even have to put it that near it. You should see at the top something like Stone and Press.
Let's see if it works.
Click on that.
Look at it. Can you see? It worked.
Yep. Well, if you click on that, it will take you to a web page on my website where I put, admittedly, some slightly rushed resources. I was going to put some more in, but my internet went down.
You've updated your website. Oh my goodness, it looks amazing. And you have, this is good. Stonehampress.com.
I wanted to see whether it would work with a show to put a QR code on the thing, and I think it does. So,
it worked. Oh, I didn't even show you. I just got excited. It worked. Yeah. Look. Mm-hmm. And you have your own. You even put my stuff, Tim. That was so nice of you.
Yeah.
On his page, he put my stuff.
Well, really, we should look about getting a site for the. But it's like, one thing people don't tell you about though is how much. I mean, they don't cost a lot. Websites, and there is a. There are various ways of setting up a website so that you can not spend as much on it, but they do have a cost. So anybody who says like, "Oh, just set up a WordPress site,"
it costs. I
it's
paid
like
for that.
Going to be $10-20 a month per site.
I did pay $500 for a year. I think it was for a year for the business plan on WordPress. Yeah. I could be a little off, but it was.
I mean, I run it. My WordPress is run on WP Engine. I think it's WP Engine. Which is like it's not WordPress.com, but it's using the WordPress software. But still, like, it's not cheap to set up another website. Mm-hmm. Now, you can be really skinflint if you're more technical and set up an Amazon S3 website, which would cost you about $3 a month. But you have to basically hand code all the HTML. Yeah. So it's like, that's what I started with. My original Stone and Press site was all hand coded, and it was dirt cheap to run. But the trouble was, the problem with WordPress, and the advantage of WordPress is that there's so much software available. You can just install a plugin and it'll work. Mm-hmm. And anything you want to find out, you can just Google it. But the problem with WordPress is it's running a piece of software on a computer somewhere to run your website, and it's not even like the most up to date software. I mean, what the PHP? It's like a very old derivative programming language from like 30 years ago, which is what WordPress is written on. And they've updated it a little bit recently, and they've got all this Gutenberg stuff. But fundamentally, WordPress is a really bloated website platform, but it's just become synonymous. It's like the VHS of the website world.
I need to take a class on WordPress because my website is also WordPress, and I'm running into problems. It's not easy just to do the templates. I've a little bit messed it up, so
yeah,
I need to take a class on that.
I mean, it's like with anything. I mean, there's so much that you just don't get the time as a small business person, or even as a charity person or whatever. You don't get the time to spend the time to actually learn all these platforms.
No,
and there's probably stuff that I do on WordPress which is probably wrong or inefficient or something terrible as well. So
your website looks really good though, and that's really, really neat that we can just click on there and it goes straight to your website. That's super cool.
I mean, the funny thing is that QR codes, what these are, have been around for ages. They've been around for about 15 years now. But the big problem is that Apple phones did not support them until like about 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
So they were never caught on in the West, but in China they use them everywhere. They have QR codes like this instead of price tags on things. So you will go and you because it's all like state, all the sort of social networking and everything is all Baidu and all organised by the Chinese state. They encourage them to have like barcodes for prices. So you just scan the barcode and that has the payment. So all a barcode is it usually takes you to a website, but it can be encoded to mean anything.
We've used it, an idea for people creating events.
Did you get any of that, or have I cut out?
No, I heard all of you. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me, Tim?
Yeah.
Testing. Tim, can you hear me? Uh-oh.
I can hear you now. Yeah, I think.
Okay, I can hear you just fine. You probably just, it was one of those weird things. We could hear you just fine. The cool thing about a web is I've used these codes to check people into events. So when I was working at the nonprofits, every time we had a fundraiser, every time we used, it makes it really easy to check people in and keep track, and they can automatically fill in their sheets, who they are, how many people, all that. Really neat for events. But this is brilliant. I love that you did this. So this is what you're up to. This is exciting. Very exciting. Would you like to hear what I've been up to?
Well, this is covering up for the fact that my training site is still not finished. So yes, I would like to hear what you've been up to.
Would you like to hear? Okay, so I keep looking down because I was on 2 podcasts, Tim, and which meant I got interviewed by some really neat people. One is a friend of ours, James Prescott, interviewed me on his podcast. And the reason why I'm looking down is I want to make sure I tell you his correct handle. Let's see. I'm looking at my Twitter account. James Prescott's podcast can be found at POEMA Podcast. POEMA Podcast on Twitter. And then once you follow him on Twitter, you'll see all the links. So I think that podcast will be ready in a couple weeks. We talked about everything from my story to highly sensitive people's circumstances to just talking about life. We have a blast talking about everything because we have a lot in common. So I got to be on James' podcast, super fun. And he announced that he just got his dream interview on his podcast. I have an idea. I think I know who it is. And if it's who I think it is, it's a brilliant author, amazing person. And I'm super excited for him. I was on a second podcast with a really neat author, really neat man who lives in Portland. And I'm going to pull up his info. He had a really successful blog writing about mental health and spirituality. And let's see, you can find him also on Twitter. I'm just going to give out the Twitter handles because then you can go there and find where their podcasts are. But his Twitter handle is, what is he? At Cultural Savage. So at CULTURAL, Savage, SAVAGE. He just started his podcast. He's interviewing phenomenal people, and I'm super excited about what he's doing. I think his podcast can be found at anchor.fm Cultural Savage by Aaron Smith. We talked about humanity, spirituality, theology, philosophy. It was just brilliant, and I loved it. Mental health. Had a great time. It was like having a chat with a friend over coffee and going deep. And I got to see his kids run in, got to say hi to his wife for a second. So it was really a neat time. So I had fun with that. That's what I've been up to. Of course, I'm always, I have my mug. Good. Love is our superpower. Go to my website if you get a chance and check out what I'm selling. I have some really neat designers that have helped me. Cheers. Woo! Tim has his white mug. I have my turquoise mug. Love is our superpower. The thing I like about this design is I love how it's retro. I love that my designer that I hired for this particular art, all of his style is retro, and maybe I'll kind of promote him on a later show because I love what he does as well. So that's it, Tim.
Well, I think there's a bit of a lag because of the whole network thing. But I've gone on my phone and killed off every other application running because I was wondering whether Instagram was using up the network bandwidth or something.
You know what? Instagram. Could be TikTok too. Who knows?
Well, yeah, I've killed off TikTok. So I can do it on my phone. So apparently somebody was talking about Walmart buying Walmart and Microsoft buying TikTok. So it's the latest. I
just saw that the CEO of TikTok stepped down. I don't know what that means, but he stepped down amidst all the rumors of them being forced to sell, kind of. I mean, I didn't click on the actual article, so I don't know what all is involved, but I just saw that he stepped down.
Well, maybe what they should do is just basically fold all of the American one and create a new company called TokTik in the US. And that, like Trump, and probably would not realize that it's a different company. It's the same company in effect.
Gosh, the fact that they're pretty much being forced to sell makes me a little bit sad, but we can talk about that another time.
Well,
so
we have a serious bit.
That's serious. Is this the serious bit now?
The serious bit.
The serious bit.
Oh yeah, no. It's this is the serious bit.
The serious bit. Dun, dun, dun.
Put the QR code back up there. Well, yeah, I need to do these with the QR code. So.
Dun, dun, dun. So the serious bit. I just brought up TikTok. I did see that the CEO stepped down. I find it unfortunate that a company would be forced to do something possibly out of fear of losing customers, and
it's wrong in basically every single way that you can think about it being wrong. Really, I mean, there's one argument about the US and its relationship with China, and with like how you think Chinese companies and Chinese citizens and the Chinese government performs. But don't arbitrarily just pick out one Chinese company and basically say we're going to close you down unless you sell to an American company. Because that's, I mean, what sort of, I mean, it's going to it's asking the Chinese to retaliate. And I mean, I don't, to be fair, there's a good argument because there aren't really many, I don't think Facebook's allowed in China. I think Twitter might be. So if Twitter's available in China, then they might find that they're going to be forced out and told to sell to a Chinese company.
Wait, explain this to me, because I thought Jack was the CEO of Twitter.
Well, I don't know. I don't know which American. I think there are one or two American social media networks. Yeah, he is. But I'm saying that he might China might retaliate against the TikTok thing in the US.
I see.
So I'm not sure which networks work in China, but I know Facebook's never been allowed in China.
Okay.
I think Twitter is.
Okay.
This is like doing one of these satellite broadcasts where it literally all over. Remember it, and like, well, maybe you don't remember, in the 1990s and the 1970s, they do these satellite interviews with people in like the Middle East, and there'd be this massive delay lag.
I do actually.
So yes, like you'll be probably answering the question before I say, because at least that's how it appears to me. Because I think I'm getting the lag on my side, so it's delayed. So you're always kind of answering like 3 or 4 seconds after I think you should.
You know, we're not doing so bad. We're getting used to this. This is fun. Let's all put on our imagination. Let's imagine we're back in the 70s and this is what we're doing. I mean, it is kind of a neat thing, Tim. You're in the UK. The reality is you are in the UK. I am in the US, as far away in the US as I can be from you, because I'm all the way on the West Coast, right? Because if I were to go east and then hop over the ocean, that's closer to go that way than to go the opposite way.
Yeah,
it has to be.
Oh yeah. Well, you'd have to go to Australia. I think what I'm going to do is I'll put my hand up like this when I've finished talking, so that then you can do it. It's like the whole I could say over. I could say over when I finished the thing, and then you can talk. So, yeah, I've forgotten what I was going to say now.
This is amazing. I feel this is amazing. We are live from the UK and United States, and we have some serious bits to talk about. This is amazing. Actually, you're right about TikTok, though, that it is wrong on so many levels. No one should be forced out, and no country should be able to force another country to do something just because they don't like what's going on or how they're handling anything. Take away the politics, whatever. We know it's political, but yeah, I mean, we could go on and on about that. You know who I wish would be in on this discussion is Jeremy Mark Rich. We need to bring him on fast, because I like how he thinks. He would be great for this discussion. I'd be curious to know what he thinks.
So, yes. Well, I mean, you could bring him on now because you might actually have somebody to talk to in real time for a change. Yeah, I mean, it's... Yeah, I mean, whatever your feelings about Trump are, and I know for a lot of Americans they're negative, but some people have positive views towards Trump. Mm-hmm. But he's very much a small detail person, almost like pick an individual case kind of, rather than, and that you get into lots of trouble with that kind of thing. It's like if he just picked some random Chinese citizen and berated them for everything the Chinese government did. I mean, that's kind of his attitude to TikTok and various other things, and he does it all over the place with all sorts of stuff, like with these efforts to sort of pay people to support particular factories in the US and the rest of it. And like in the 1970s in the UK government got into a lot of trouble for trying to do this kind of like just propping up companies and propping up individuals. Doing things on a case-by-case basis is never a good idea. So that's me done.
I want to ask you a little bit more about this, because it's really interesting for America to hear a point of view outside of the US. Let's get the reality of the reactions of people outside the US. My point of view is often when you don't want certain attention on you, you're going to keep pointing over here. So everyone's looking over there instead of at something that you might be doing here. That's my point of view. I know you told your point of view a little bit, but we get to hear from you in the UK and perhaps your perspective from talking to people outside the US about this. Can you tell me more about your ideas with our political situation overall?
This is where I could get myself in the world of hurt. Really.
Well, you can stay on the TikTok. I mean, you can stay on the TikTok.
I mean, I think from my perspective, one of the biggest problems Trump identified with the US political system, which is you never do anything. Really, your state governments generally don't do anything. Not state government. I mean, like your constitutional. So, like the House of Representatives doesn't really do anything. The Senate doesn't really do anything. You never pass much legislation because it's so hard to get anything done in Washington. I mean, I was watching a YouTube documentary the other day about the state of infrastructure in the US, and some of it's like terrible. And because everything's so short term in Washington, like they're not like there's a whole load of like 10 billion pounds worth of investment needed on like the Mississippi and Ohio rivers in terms of like infrastructure for locks and the rest of it, and nobody's paying for it because it's kind of should be federally funded, but there has been no infrastructure bill in the US. And I think Trump appealed to a lot of people because he was a solution to this problem. He was going to knock heads together and get stuff done. Well, he's been not really done anything. But I suspect that the issue the Democrats could have, if they get in November, is that they will run into much the same sort of thing. So I think there's an argument, and I think it has worked at times, that you could say that a lot of the time politicians should be stopped from doing things because they have terrible ideas. Certainly if you're an older person, I think there's an argument to say that politicians maybe shouldn't be allowed to do anything. But there are definitely things that need to be done in the US. I mean, certainly with healthcare, your healthcare system is an expensive, bloated mess. But that said, there are issues with healthcare in the UK, and governments basically just get around it by just every 10, 15, 20 years or so, they shove a load more cash into the NHS, but they never really do any reform to it. So, yeah, as a total person from like a different perspective, that's kind of, I think the problem in the US is that your whole system is just rigged to not do anything, and then you end up getting progressive. The electorate keeps electing people with the idea of like wanting to change everything and get things moving again, but it never really happens. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but that's kind of where I am. So there.
It's good to get a different perspective. I appreciate that, and so I'm just listening. Thank you, Tim.
So shall we move on to another section?
Let's move on. I'm excited. Hot recommendations.
I'm going to start by I saw a YouTube video the other day about it was basically going, I mean, it was a little bit biased. I'll say that it's by a guy called Tick, who's he's a British guy who does history videos. But he was going through the diary of this social democrat in Nazi Germany. So this guy who was a social democrat, who kept a diary of what actually the situation was like in Nazi Germany. He lived in Nazi Germany all through the war. He worked in agriculture or something. And it was just fascinating about, like, even in 1939, they were suffering from like food and other shortages, and just how terribly chaotic and badly run Nazi Germany was. And it's funny, at one point in the diary, the guy is saying, like, it's obvious to me that we have to invade Russia. And that, like, because Tick is this guy called Tick. It's not his actual name. I don't know what his name is, but he calls himself Tick on. He makes this big point about how people don't appreciate how resources and economics and stuff affects history, and about because of the economic system that the Nazis adopted, which was basically the worst mix of communism and capitalism. Mm-hmm. So like they didn't have good capitalism because they were rigging all the prices and they were like taking over companies and basically deciding like the price of this should be that and this should be that. They kept running out of stuff, and they kept and the only way they could keep the economy going was to invade places and steal the resources. So this guy basically says it's like we're almost running out of oil. So where's the nearest place of oil? Oh, it's in the Caucasus in Russia. So I'll predict next year we'll be made in Russia. And like, yeah, of course that's what happened. So that was my recommendation for a YouTube video.
YouTube video. That's awesome. I am going to make a recommendation, and it actually goes back to a guest we had on the show several weeks ago. We've had a lot of talk in the United States, current events about some just controversy over here happening. And so I'm not going to get into the controversy, but I do want to plug one of our friends that came on several weeks ago. Jay Baker wrote a book that now is a really good time to read his book. It's brilliant. It's beautifully written. I really enjoyed it. I read it probably about 5 years ago. I want to say it's life-changing, but I'm also very much like a hype person, but it really did change my perspective. So his book is called Fall to Grace. It's based on, I believe maybe there was a movie made about his parents that was called Fall from Grace. So he did a spin on it, called it Fall to Grace. It tells the story of his family. It tells his own story. It talks about grace in a new light. Highly recommend right now, especially if you're in the United States, following current events, Fall to Grace, get it. It's not expensive. And by the way, Tim, I copied you and I created an Amazon, what do you call it? Amazon favorites list.
Oh, well, I've actually got an Amazon influencer store, but yeah.
Influencer, yeah. Influencer store. I copied you. I hope that's okay. I copied you. And I need to put that book actually into my list on there. So if you want to put it on yours, I don't know. I'll put it on mine.
When I get around to it and I get decent internet back, I'm going to include all of this stuff in the thing, in the QR code in the corner, in the I'll take the web page to have all the previous notifications and recommendations, so that we can have a little list going.
That's brilliant. I think we're kind of fun. I think we're a little nerdy fun, but I think that's
yeah, it's basically like train and hiking. So politics and history for me. So it's like one thing I will tell you about QR codes. There's loads of QR code generators online, but so many of them are quite odd and dodgy, and they try and get you to register all the time. But there's one called QR Monkey, which is what I did this one with. So you basically just type in a website address, and that's all you do, and then it prints that out. What I've noticed with QR codes, though, is you need that little border around the side of it. You see that there's a little white border around the edge of it. If you don't have that, if you don't have that border, you don't have a color contrast, it won't work. As I discovered when I tried to use one in a presentation once. I just merged it in with the background, and it needs that contrast. So it needs like the white border and then change to black or change to another color. Otherwise it won't detect. But QR codes are cool. I think people should use QR code more. I
think it's brilliant. It worked. It was really easy. It just popped right on my phone. So good job, Tim. Yeah. That's really cool. You could teach that in one of your classes too. Simple little tidbit.
What section? Well, we've got the quiz. I could try the quiz. I'm a bit loath to say about the screen sharing, so this may or may not work, but we'll use the thing anyway.
It's quiz time, and I'm on my own. How am I going to do, Tim? I'm scared. Always scared.
Yeah, let me try and this might end up not working properly. I've got a feeling this might end up using all the resources on my
mobile. Because you have to pull up all the resources and it. Oh.
Well,
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, what's not?
By the way, while Tim is doing
here
this.
Here we go.
While Tim is doing this, I want to point out that he does all the producing on our show and he creates all these graphics. So this is all Tim doing the graphics and promo and all of that. So awesome job.
Okay, I seem to have 2 copies of Chrome open somewhere. I'm not entirely sure how. Oh well, I won't ask.
But all we are right now.
The theme of this week's quiz is I've got one person born for every state in the US, and I think we'll just do it and we'll see how many out of 50 you get right.
Okay.
Hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Yeah, wow. Could you see the how can we get
right. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Yeah, I don't know why we can keep the QR code up there. So can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. Well, you don't really need to hear me at all for this, actually. You just need to be blurting out where you think these people were born, which state.
This would be a really good time for me to call in help. Okay. Martin Luther King Jr. I want to say Birmingham, Alabama.
Ooh.
Oh, you just did state. Okay, I'm going with Alabama. Katy Perry.
I have to say, I thought Katy Perry was British for some reason, but she isn't.
You know, I don't follow a lot of pop culture, but my phone for some reason is popping up People magazine constantly. And I just got notified that Katy Perry and what's his name had a baby together. And I think he is British.
Bloom, yeah.
They're together. I didn't even know they were together.
No, I didn't. Well, I had a vague memory, but yeah.
So she is dating or with a British man. So who knew? Yeah. Katy Perry, you know, Texas.
The trouble with this selector thing I've got here is these really slow. Right, there you go, Texas.
Here's the thing. I kind of know the regions that these people are born in, but I can't remember the specific states for some reason. Like, I'm going to be way off, but.
Well, I used famousbirthdays.com for the list. The funny thing is that some of the states really scraping the bottom of the barrel. And there's one where I just ended up putting in a random politician because there was literally nobody I'd heard of. Now,
wait a minute.
American TV stars who you would have heard of, but I'd never heard of them.
Did you do all 50 states, Tim?
Yeah.
Did you? Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, what we could do is we could start it this week and then we could finish going forever until you get them all right.
I'm gonna have to study up. I'm gonna bring in the troops next week to help me.
Well, some of them are actually really counterintuitive because I think it's more true in the US than anywhere else. But a lot of people are born in one state, known for one state, and then actually they were born somewhere totally different.
Oh yeah, people come into California because of celebrity status all the time. So, but I kind of know around where they were born. Their actual state, I don't know. I'm thinking Katy Perry was born is like a.
Well, you've said Texas already,
kind of person. I'm going with a Bible Belt kind of thing, but I'm just throwing Texas out there. Chris Evans, I have no idea. I don't know anything about him other than he's Captain America. That's all I know about him.
Well, should we just leave him blank?
Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. New Jersey.
I think you would get zero on this.
I'm going to use zero. I mean, I think Brad Pitt is Southern. I think he's from the South. So I'm going to have to literally throw something out there. Where'd he be from? Is he from New Mexico? That's not South, but let's say New Mexico. That kind of just.
It's just more Sun Belt, isn't it? So.
Beyonce. She wasn't born in like Atlanta, was she? Georgia? I mean, I'm guessing Georgia. I don't. Gary Johnson, a libertarian politician. I mean,
well, you can tell it's a smaller state which hasn't got many people to pick from when this is the best I can come up with.
I mean, I'm sure he's a wonderful person. Gary, would you like to come on our show? I'd like to ask you about the libertarian thing because I don't quite understand. Let's go with like Rhode Island.
Okay.
You see where we're going with this. Walt Disney. I don't know. Help me. California. George Clayton Johnson, screenplay writer of Logan's Run.
This tells you that it's more obscure state.
Right. Tim, first of all,
that's the only person I could find who even I'd heard of. I had to look up all of the description because it's got a whole load of YouTube and it's got like TikTok and YouTube starts on this famous birthday thing. So,
I mean, can you tell me what it starts with?
I can't even remember which one it is, to be honest. I know it's one of the obscure ones.
Yeah, what would you consider obscure though? Like, okay, Oregon.
Oregon's not that obscure.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by obscure.
Sure I can remember who Oregon is, and it's not him. So I'll tell you, it's not Oregon.
Was Whitney Houston born in Michigan? Was she from? I'm guessing Michigan. I don't know that.
You might just skip. So we're not bothering with. Well, let's not bother with old.
Do you like how I skipped?
What about Ariana Grande?
Florida. Tim. I'm getting a big fat F. I'm seeing F's in my head, and this is not good. Calvin Coolidge, U.S. president. Where did he go to? Where did he go to law school, first of all? Did he go to Harvard? Not that it matters, but.
Well, I tell you, like a lot of the older U.S. president. I mean, you always have to think East Coast.
Yeah.
Older people more likely to be East Coast or East.
Yeah.
I can't exactly remember. I think it's one of those obscure East Coast states, or maybe not that obscure. But it's Calvin Coolidge, so he's not like a big name celebrity. So he's the person I'd most heard of in that state.
I mean, like North Carolina. Let's go with North Carolina. North Carolina. I skipped a couple because that's how my brain works here. Cheryl Ladd, original Charlie's Angel.
Yeah. Again, it's basically scraping the bottom of the barrel a little bit.
Nevada. Did I already say
Nevada was hard to find somebody, but I don't know if it's her. Nevada. Taylor Swift.
Did we skip George Clayton Johnson?
We did.
I did. Okay. Taylor Swift. Taylor, where are you from? I feel like she was playing country music to begin with. Would that make her from the South? I don't know. not necessarily, but let's go with Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Lisa Murkowski, U.S. Senator. Which U.S. What state is she from?
Well, I could tell you what state she's from, but then you'd know where she was born. It's just
Exactly.
like really. I ended up having to Google other places because I'd not heard of any of the people on. Originally, I had a cosmetics influencer from the famous birthday because I'd not heard of any of the bloody other people. And I Googled this state and famous people born in this state, and she was about the only person who came up. And even she's not very famous.
You know what? I'm looking at George Floyd right now, and I think actually he was from Texas. He was not from Minnesota.
No, he wasn't. I'll tell you that. He was not from Minnesota.
I think he was actually from Texas. Now that, that changes things. I'm not sure. Oh, gosh. Lisa Murkowski.
So I'm like thinking, there's only a couple of them I can remember.
Sarah Palin famously said that she could see Russia. Is she from Alaska? No. Am I right? Am I totally off here?
Yeah. Well, no, she represented Alaska, but that's not necessarily where she was born.
Well, I'm going to have to just say Alaska because that's all I know about her. George Floyd, I think he actually might be Texas, but I'm not. He moved from somewhere to Minnesota.
I think I can say the same answer twice. Yeah.
Just say it, yeah, because I don't know. Judge Reinhold, Madonna, Dirk Benedict, Neil Armstrong. Okay.
Skip down.
Stephen King is on the East Coast. I know this for a fact. He's Upper East Coast, but where?
Uppy place in the East Coast. Where's farthest up? I think I remember this one.
He's far up East Coast because a lot of his books are set there. But which state is it? Where are all his books set? Let's see. I already said Rhode Island, but is it Rhode Island? Is it?
Well, it's further north states than Rhode Island.
Is it? Can I look at my map? I'm looking at my map.
Yeah, you look at your map.
I know. United States map. I know for sure he's Upper East Coast. I know this for a fact. And his books terrify me, by the way. Have you read any of them?
I've read a few. I read his JFK time travel one.
He's a brilliant writer. I'll give him that, but he's absolutely terrifying. Stephen King.
He's also pointed out, so it's true about, I can't remember, it's in the US date format. Whatever the date of the Kennedy assassination, but it's like 11/5/64 or 63 or something. His book about the time travel thing with it, but as people have pointed out, he's terrible at endings. The endings of that book is terrible. It's really well written. His description and he's like, but he just can't finish a story.
I think I heard his first book that he came out with, he actually threw away, and then his wife found it in the trash.
Yeah. Actually, have you read his book on writing? That's he's like it's a writing book, but it's more an autobiography.
Tell me about it. I heard it's brilliant. Is it worth reading?
It's worth reading. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a great book on writing as such, but it's a very interesting biographical book.
Okay, I got he's from Maine. Is he from Maine?
Yeah, I'll give you that. I think he is.
I think he's from
Maine. Let's do a check and see how many you've got right so far.
I think I'm right with Steve.
And also, you've got a little. Oh, you've got two right, and maybe right the map tells you something.
Yeah, I was right with Stephen King. Okay, Florida. Who did I say with Florida? I don't remember.
Ariana Grande.
That
Clearly, she's made an impression on you.
Yes. That was so. Sarah Palin was not born in Alaska. Well, you know what? Okay. Well, you know what?
Well, let's just say somebody else on the list, I think, was her successor as senator for Alaska, who was actually born there.
Eminem was born in Detroit.
I'm giving you a clue on.
I'm wrong with Whitney because I know for sure Eminem was born in Detroit, so he's Michigan. Going down, Eminem. The things I actually know for a fact. I know where Eminem was born. And I'm actually a big fan. I think he's a brilliant artist.
Oh.
Eminem, Michigan. He is Michigan, which means Whitney was not Michigan.
Well, you know Whitney was Michigan because we basically everything else is wrong.
Well, yeah.
Where do you think Whitney was born then? In fact, basically, we should probably just go back up to the top, and you should change all your answers to something else, because you know that Ariane did this one's right, and this one's right. Possibly this one's right.
Eminem's right for sure. It's the only one.
I'm not sure it's right actually. But,
okay, now I want to know if I'm right, because if I'm like,
you're wrong. It's not.
He wasn't born in Michigan.
According to famousbirthdays.com.
Eminem. What? Okay, that's baffling to me. Okay, that's baffling to me. Then I don't even know. I'm blown away. Okay.
I know he let's see what Wikipedia says.
I could have sworn he was born in Detroit.
God.
He was actually born elsewhere. Okay, well,
He was born somewhere I found surprising. I forgot that it was him. He wasn't. He grew up in Detroit and around there, but he didn't.
Yeah, that completely threw me off. He was doing all his battling in Detroit.
Well, shall we just carry on down?
Carry on down. Let's carry on down. I'm looking at my map now, and you have me stumped. And again, Jeff Bezos. Utah.
Why Utah?
I don't know, honestly, because I think right now
Ariana Grande thing and just by pure luck get the right answer.
I think right now Jeff would probably be living in either California or Washington. Is that right?
I have no idea where he lives now, to be honest.
But he's probably not born wherever he lives. I mean, his offices, I think, are either in Washington or California. Jimi Hendrix, where was he born? Oh my God.
I think it was a West Coast one.
Jimi Hendrix was on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Arizona.
Well, strictly speaking, Arizona isn't on the West Coast, but I'll let
west.
you.
It's west.
H.P. Lovecraft.
I don't even know who that is. Who is that?
He's a famous horror writer.
Famous what?
Horror writer.
Horror writer.
Yeah. I thought you would have heard of him. To be fair, he was he was. I remember he was like a godsend in that particular state for somebody vaguely I'd heard of.
Okay.
No, H.P. Well, to be fair, I don't think I've ever read any of his books, but when I used to, there was a lot of he's kind of iconic, like monster horror book kind of person. He's always like really graphic descriptions of stuff.
That's why I haven't heard of him. I don't read horror at all. I will get nightmares and cry. Michael Phelps, I actually saw a special on him, but my memory as to like names and places is horrific. But I saw several specials on him, and they're really interesting. But as far as where he was born, I have no idea. Don't remember.
This is another scraping the bottom of the barrel. It's not the main actress from The Hunger Games. It's somebody I couldn't really remember, but she was in most of the Hunger Games films.
Did you see the Hunger Games, by the way?
I did. I've seen all of the films. I've never read it. Right.
I read it, but I haven't seen any of the films.
Oh, okay.
So I did that.
It's actually quite interesting to do both, but I haven't done it that much. Like Lord of the Rings, I read the films and watched. Read the films and watched the book.
I love Lord of the. Okay, how do you feel about the book versus the movie?
Well, the books, I don't like the excessive kind of poetry bits in the books, but the actual storyline, I think because they dropped all the ravaging of the Shire and stuff from the films.
Yeah.
But right at the end of it, like Salomon, I think, goes and destroys a lot of the Shire afterwards, which I think just getting rid of that in the films lowered the sort of the whole point of it in a way.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the films, it was one of those things that there were so many unmade Lord of the Rings things. So clearly I'm now so boring that
See ya.
I think this will have to become a long running thing.
This is long and I need help. It's fun discussing who these people are because they've done interesting things.
Shall we just go down to the bottom of the I'll show you the whole list. So that if you want to cheat a bit in the meantime, it's like, so we got Winona Ryder, Warren Buffett.
You know what's interesting, Tim, is these people are actually really interesting to talk about. I could talk about Warren Buffett all day.
Yeah.
Johnny Cash wrote one of my favorite songs.
He might be one of your favorite. I went to the Johnny Cash Museum in where was it? Nashville. That's quite. It's one of those places I had like you have an emotional reaction to some. I did to the Johnny Cash Museum because it had this video of Hurt. I don't know if you've ever seen the song. Well, the video of Hurt is all about sort of regret of being old and all the rest of it. And it had all the exhibits from the video where he was like, because he's sitting on this chair in the video and the chair was right there and it was playing the video. It was really well done.
I saw someone else. Who was it? Can you scroll down again?
Yeah. So this is, James Brown, the Godfather of Soul is the last one.
Oprah is one of my favorites. Amelia Earhart, I could talk about all day. And I actually saw her in one of our flight museums here in San Diego. Not her, but like there was a bit on her life at a museum here in San Diego. These are fun people to talk about, but I don't know where they were born. I know Santa was born in
we'll get rid of this for now.
Uh-huh.
And then next week we'll bring it up and you'll have another go. It's just save me having to create another quiz. So we'll just keep doing it until you get them all right.
That's going to take forever. And I don't cheat.
Well, I don't know, because it's like, if anybody does watch the replays, and I know some people do watch the replays,
they can cheat for me.
They put up with the terrible delay, and no doubt it's totally unwatchable because of the delay to my being on Wi-Fi. Hopefully some people might be able to say, "Oh no, I know Eminem is born in wherever."
Yeah, that one. I'm so sad I didn't know that. Honestly, so sad.
Yeah, well, it might. I mean, it's like my parents moved when I was 18 months old, only from one part of the UK to another. But it's like a lot of the time people are born in a place, but then the parents need to move because they need a different house or a bigger house or whatever. So,
well, you would think I was born in San Diego, right? All my siblings were. I didn't move here till I was 9 months. So I was actually born in Upland, California, which is right next to Long Beach. So famous people born in Long Beach would be Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg. So it's you and Snoop Dogg. So anyway, I suppose we should try and we haven't got any other bits we do. I think we've done all the bits. We've done the serious bit, done hot recommendations. Somehow we've managed to do the show.
Who's on Tuesday? Who's our guest on Tuesday?
Oh yes, on Tuesday we have got Amy and Caitlin. I'm having a total mental block as their surnames, but they are two wonderful people from New Mexico, from Santa Fe, who do lots of work with influencers, and they run a big social media agency down there. And they're just generally very interesting people as well. So
I'm excited. Yeah, we'll get to meet them. You've been talking about them for a while.
Viewers of the show will know we've got the tradition basically that we each tell each other as little as possible on the show. Whoever the person is who didn't invite them and doesn't have a relationship, so that they come with it from a fresh perspective, or it could be we're just really poorly organised. So, one of those two.
Wait, I have to ask one question. What's behind your head? Did you change the?
Oh yeah, I did change it. Well, I have to go solo mode, and then I have to move my mic.
I see a sloth.
Oh, we can't really see it.
Even the sloth gets there eventually. The sloth gets there eventually. Ah, I love it. Yeah. Bye, Tim. Thank you for today. Bye, Tim Sohn. Bye, friends who stayed in there and hung out. And next time, please help me with the quiz, or just chat with me about all the fun people.
Well, I mean, people can leave comments on the quiz now on the replay, because then for next week, you might have to tag Christelle so she sees them. But if you know, or you've got any ideas about the quiz, just tag them, and then Christelle can pick up on that and take notice or not next week.
Bye. I'll see you on Tuesday.
See you, everybody. All right. I have to work out. Oh yeah. And I didn't need to do that actually.
This is terrifying for me.
I've made more money in the last 3 years than I did in the previous 7.
Cliche shit, you know.